She was left for being just a nurse by her billionaire CEO ex. She returns as chief of surgery at his hospital empire with her son. The glass doors slid open. Ava Bennett stepped into the cold care boardroom like she owned it, heels clicking against marble, navy suit sharp enough to cut through every doubt she'd ever carried. Her chin lifted just enough to say, "I belong here." 23 executives turned to look. 22 smiled politely, but one went completely still. Nathan Cole sat at the head of the table, fountain pen hovering mid-signature. His jaw tightened. The pen slipped, clattered against the mahogany surface, rolled toward the edge. But he didn't move to catch it. He couldn't even breathe. 9 years. 9 years since he'd seen that face, those eyes, the woman he'd destroyed because he was too afraid to choose her. And now she stood 10 feet away, wearing a badge that gleamed under the recessed lighting. Dr. Ava Bennett, chief of surgery, his hospital, his empire, his past walking straight back into his present. But then a small voice cut through the suffocating silence. "Mom?" Every head swiveled. A boy stood beside her, maybe 8, maybe 9, brown curls falling into his eyes that were hazel, sharp, familiar in a way that made Nathan's chest seize. The boy's name tag read, Eli Bennett, guest. Nathan's throat closed. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't cooperate, because that face, those eyes, they were his. But before anyone could process it, Eli's breathing changed. A wheeze, soft at first, then sharper. The boy clutched his chest, fingers digging into his shirt. His mouth opened, gasping. The sound echoed off glass walls like a scream without noise. "Illy," Ava's voice cracked. Her files hit the floor, papers scattered across polished stone. She dropped to her knees, hands reaching for him as he swayed. His small body crumpled forward, but she caught him halfway down. Chaos erupted. Chairs scraped. Voices overlapped. Someone yelled for a medic. Nathan shot to his feet, instinct overriding shock. "I'll call the—" "Don't." Ava's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Her eyes locked on his, burning, furious, grief-stricken. "Don't you dare come near him." Nathan froze. The room froze. She cradled Eli against her chest, fingers trembling as she loosened his collar. Her voice dropped to a whisper, steady, clinical, a surgeon taking control. But her hands shook. Eli gasped again, his lips tinged blue. And Nathan stood there, helpless, watching the woman he'd broken hold a child who looked exactly like him. But who really is that boy? Did having Nathan's eyes really mean he was his son? And why would a woman who just walked into his empire with her head held high look at him like he's the last person on earth she'd let near her child? Well, quickly hit that subscribe button and tell us what time and country you're watching from. It makes me know it's real people, real family members, watching my stories, and I feel closer to you as a family while narrating these stories. Comment present if you're here with us today, and please, please don't leave our story in the middle. It hurts our family's growth when you do so. Now, get comfortable and let me take you back. Back to how Ava Bennett's story began on that early Monday morning. 9 years earlier, Street Christopher's hospital smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee. Ava Bennett didn't mind. She'd worked the late shift for 3 years straight, and somewhere between the fluorescent lights and the rhythm of beeping monitors, she'd found her purpose. The other nurses called her Sunshine. Not because she was perky, she wasn't, but because she had this way of making patients smile even when they were terrified. A joke here, a hand squeeze there. The kind of presence that said, "You're going to be okay." It was 6:47 a.m. when Nathan Cole walked through the double doors. She noticed the suit first, charcoal gray, tailored so precisely it looked like it cost a fortune. Then the watch, silver, minimalist, expensive in that quiet way rich people preferred. He carried a leather portfolio under one arm and a to-go cup in the other. His jaw was set. His eyes scanned the hallway like he was cataloging every detail. Hospital inspection, she figured. Another executive making sure the place was profitable enough to keep running. He stopped at the nurse's station, balancing the coffee cup on the edge of the counter while flipping open his folder. That's when it happened. His elbow knocked the cup. Coffee arced through the air in slow motion, splashing across the folder, his sleeve, the counter. "Damn it," he muttered, grabbing for napkins that weren't there. Ava bit back a smile. Then she pulled a stack of paper towels from her scrub pocket and handed them over without a word. He looked up, and their eyes met. "For someone inspecting a hospital," she said, tilting her head, "you might want to work on your hand-eye coordination. We've got a whole department for that upstairs." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Almost. Thanks," he said, taking the towels. His voice was deeper than she expected, controlled, like he'd practiced sounding calm his entire life. "You're welcome." She turned to leave. "Wait." She glanced back. He stood there, coffee-stained and slightly disheveled, looking nothing like the polished executive who'd walked in. "Do you always hand out medical advice with your paper towels?" "Only to people who look like they need it." This time, he did smile. Small, restrained, but real. "Nathan Cole," he said, extending a hand. She shook it. His grip was firm, warm. "Ava Bennett." "Thank you, Ava Bennett." "Anytime, Nathan Cole." She walked away before he could say anything else, but she felt his eyes on her back the entire way down the hall. She'd have probably forgotten the incident by now, except that he came back 3 days later, then a week after that. At first, it was always the same excuse: budget review, facility upgrades, partnership discussions with department heads. But Ava noticed he started timing his visits around her shifts. He'd pass by the nurse's station, nod, ask how her day was going. She'd answer with something quick and sarcastic, and he'd linger just a little longer than necessary. One afternoon, he showed up with 2 coffees. "Peace offering," he said, sliding one across the counter. "In case you're still judging my coordination." She raised an eyebrow. "I don't drink coffee. It's tea, chamomile." She blinked. "How did you mentioned it last week. Said coffee makes you jittery during night shifts." Her chest tightened. He'd listened. Actually listened. She took the cup. "Thanks." They stood there in the hallway, sipping in silence while hospital chaos swirled around them. "Well, you're different than I expected," she said finally. "Different how?" "I don't know. Less robotic." He laughed. A real laugh. The kind that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "That's the nicest insult I've heard all week." "I aim to please." Clearly, she studied him. The expensive suit didn't seem as intimidating anymore. Behind it was just a guy who looked tired, who stood a little straighter when people walked by, like he was always performing. "Why do you keep coming back here?" she asked. He hesitated. His fingers tightened around the cup. "Honestly, preferably. Because you're the only person who talks to me like I'm not a walking checkbook." The words landed between them, quiet and honest. Ava felt something shift, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Curiosity, maybe something more. Over the next few weeks, coffee breaks turned into lunch. Lunch turned into long conversations in the hospital cafeteria, where she'd tease him about his inability to use the vending machine, and he'd tell her about growing up under the weight of a legacy he never asked for. "My father built the Cole Group from nothing," Nathan said one afternoon, staring into his sandwich like it held all the answers. "Now, everyone expects me to be him. Better than him, actually. Sounds exhausting." "It is." "Then why do it?" He looked up. "What else would I do?" "Literally anything." She shrugged. "You're smart. You could be a terrible barista. Join a rock band. Adopt 12 cats." He smiled. 12? Minimum. For a moment, he just looked at her, like she'd said something profound instead of ridiculous. "She makes me forget I'm supposed to have all the answers," he thought. "She makes me feel like maybe I don't need them." But then his phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Lunch meeting moved to 2 p.m. Don't get distracted." He pocketed the phone quickly, too quickly. Ava noticed. But she didn't ask. 2 weeks later, he waited until the end of her shift. She found him leaning against the wall outside the staff exit, hands in his pockets, looking nervous in a way she'd never seen. "You waited?" she asked. I wanted to ask you something. Her heart skipped. Okay. Dinner. With me. Somewhere that's not a hospital cafeteria. She hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, but because she could feel it, the weight of whatever this was becoming. The risk. He saw the hesitation. If it's weird, just say so. Yes. He blinked. Yes? Yes, Nathan. I'll have dinner with you. His smile broke wide open. Unguarded. Real. And for the first time in years, Ava wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was about to fall for someone who might actually catch her. She had no idea how wrong she was. At least not yet. The restaurant was tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop in Lincoln Park. Small. Warm. The kind of place where candles flickered in wine bottles and the owner knew everyone's name. Ava arrived first, wearing a simple black dress she'd bought on sale 2 years ago. She felt underdressed the moment she sat down. But when Nathan walked in, suit jacket replaced with a navy sweater, hair slightly less perfect, he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. You look beautiful, he said. She rolled her eyes. You look like you raided someone's casual wardrobe. I'm trying something new. It's called not terrifying people with formality. How's that working out? You tell me. She smiled. It's a start. They ordered pasta neither of them could pronounce. He told her about a disastrous board meeting where his father's oldest partner fell asleep mid-presentation. She told him about a patient who tried to flirt with her while she was inserting his IV. The conversation flowed, easy, natural, like they'd been doing this for years. Can I ask you something? Nathan said, twirling his fork through fettuccine. Depends on the question. Why nursing? Why not medical school from the start? Ava's smile faded slightly. Money, time, life. She shrugged. My mom cleaned houses to put me through community college. I couldn't ask her for 4 more years of tuition, so I became a nurse. Figured I'd work my way up eventually. Eventually? Someday. She looked down. If I can save enough, if I don't burn out first. Nathan set his fork down. You'd make an incredible surgeon, but you've never seen me operate. I've seen you handle chaos without flinching. That's half the job. Something warm spread through her chest. Not pity, not empty encouragement. Belief. Thank you, she said quietly. He reached across the table. His hand covered hers. I mean it, Ava. And she believed him. They left the restaurant at midnight and walked along Lake Michigan. The city glittered behind them. The water stretched dark and endless ahead. Nathan's jacket hung over her shoulders because she'd forgotten hers. This is my favorite part of Chicago, she said, stopping near the edge of the path. Right here, where the noise fades and it's just quiet. Nathan stood beside her, hands in his pockets. I've lived here my whole life. Never stopped to look at it like this. That's because you're always in boardrooms or penthouses. Maybe I needed someone to show me what I was missing. She glanced at him, his profile sharp against the skyline. You're not as insufferable as I thought. High praise. Don't let it go to your head. He smiled, then softer. I like who I am when I'm with you. Her breath caught. She wanted to say something clever, something deflective, but the truth slipped out instead. I like who I am with you too. They stood there, shoulders almost touching, the city breathing around them. And for the first time in her life, Ava thought, maybe this is what it feels like to be seen. As the weeks blurred into months, Nathan started showing up at the end of her shifts with takeout. She taught him to appreciate street tacos from the cart on Roosevelt Road. He took her to a rooftop garden downtown she didn't know existed. They were careful, quiet, meeting in places where cameras wouldn't find them. At first, Ava thought it was romantic, secret, theirs alone. But slowly, she started to wonder if it was something else. One night, Nathan sat on her apartment floor surrounded by Ava's anatomy textbooks. Quiz me, she said, curled up on the couch with a mug of tea. He flipped open a page. What's the function of the mitral valve? Prevents backflow of blood from the left ventricle to the left atrium. Correct. Next, name the layers of the heart wall. Endocardium, myocardium, epicardium. He looked up, grinning. You're going to destroy this exam. I better. I've been studying for 6 months. You'll get into the program, Ava. I know it. She set the mug down. How can you be so sure? Because you care more than anyone I've ever met, and you don't quit. Her throat tightened. What if caring isn't enough? Nathan closed the book. He moved to sit beside her, his hand finding hers. Then I'll help, however I can. Nathan, I'm serious. Tuition, time, whatever you need. I can't let you do that. Why not? Because it's not your responsibility. What if I wanted to be? The words hung between them, heavy, meaning more than they said. She squeezed his hand. With you, I feel like I can actually do this, like it's not just a dream. It's not, he whispered. You're going to be Dr. Ava Bennett, and I'll be the guy who gets to say he knew you before you changed the world. She kissed him then, soft, slow, grateful. 6 months in, she met his brother. Ethan Cole was younger by 3 years, warmer, less burdened by expectation. So you're the one who's got Nathan smiling like an idiot, Ethan said, shaking her hand at a coffee shop in Wicker Park. Ava laughed. Is that what I'm doing? Trust me, he's never been like this. Nathan elbowed him. Don't scare her off. I'm helping your case. It was easy with Ethan. Light. Fun. And for a moment, Ava thought, maybe his family won't be so bad. She didn't know Victoria Cole yet. One evening, Nathan handed her a small velvet box. Her stomach dropped. Nathan, it's not what you think, he smiled. Open it. Inside was a silver bracelet, delicate, simple, engraved with 2 letters, A and N. Her vision blurred. Nathan, I wanted you to have something that says you're not just someone I'm seeing. You matter, Ava. He paused, searching for the word. You're everything. She let him clasp it around her wrist. The metal was cool against her skin. With you, I'm just Nathan, he said quietly. Not the Cole heir, not the guy everyone's waiting to fail, just me. She cupped his face. That's all I ever wanted. They kissed, and for a moment, the world felt perfect. But perfection never lasts. 2 weeks later, Nathan's assistant called him during one of their late-night drives. Ava watched his face change, tension creeping into his jaw. I understand, Nathan said into the phone. I'll handle it. He hung up. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, just work. But he didn't look at her when he said it. The cracks started small. Nathan asked her not to post photos of them together. Just for a while. The press is relentless right now. She agreed. It made sense. Then he started canceling plans. Always with an apology. Always with flowers the next day. She told herself it was temporary. But one night, standing outside his building waiting for him to come downstairs, she heard his voice through the lobby glass. He was on the phone, pacing. I know it's not ideal timing, he said, frustration bleeding through. But I can't just... He stopped, saw her through the window. Their eyes met. He ended the call, came outside, smiled like nothing was wrong. Ready? He asked. She nodded, but something cold settled in her chest, and she couldn't shake the question. Not ideal timing for what? Have you ever loved someone but felt like you had to hide it? Like your love wasn't good enough for their world? Drop a comment and tell me, would you have stayed, or would you have walked away the moment you felt hidden? And if you're connecting with Ava's story, hit that like button so I know you're here with me. Because what happens next? It's going to test everything she believed about love. The invitation arrived on heavy cardstock. Victoria Cole requests your presence. No pleasantries. No warmth. Just an address in the Gold Coast and a time, 2 p.m. Saturday. Nathan's mother. Ava stared at the card, her stomach twisting. Nathan had mentioned her exactly twice. Once to say she was particular about appearances. Once to change the subject entirely. She should have asked him about it, but something stopped her. Some part of her needed to see this for herself. The penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building that looked like it belonged in a European capital, not Chicago. Ava stepped off the private elevator, into a space so white and pristine it felt like a museum. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. Art that probably cost more than her entire life savings. Victoria Cole stood near the windows, a glass of wine in hand. She was stunning in that cold, untouchable way. Silver hair swept into a perfect chignon. Cream suit tailored to knife-edge precision. Diamonds at her throat that caught the afternoon light. "Ava Bennett," Victoria said, turning. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Thank you for coming. Mrs. Cole, please, sit." Ava sat on the edge of a chair that felt more like sculpture than furniture. Victoria didn't sit. She stood, sipping her wine, studying Ava like a painting she was considering purchasing. "Nathan speaks highly of you," Victoria said. "He speaks highly of you too." "Does he?" A faint smile. "How diplomatic." Silence stretched between them. Victoria set her glass down. "Let me be direct, Ava. I'm sure you're a lovely person, hard-working, kind, the sort of girl people root for." Ava's jaw tightened. But this relationship with my son, it's not sustainable." The words landed like a slap. "Sustainable," Ava repeated. "Nathan has responsibilities, a legacy to uphold. Investors, board members, shareholders, they all have opinions. And right now those opinions are concerned." "Concerned about what?" Victoria picked up a tablet from the glass coffee table. She swiped once, then handed it to Ava. A tabloid headline filled the screen. "Cole Airs Mystery Woman Hospital Hookup." Below it, a grainy photo. Nathan and Ava outside Street Christopher's. Her in scrubs. Him leaning close, smiling. Ava's hands went numb. "They're calling you a distraction," Victoria said, her tone almost sympathetic. Almost. Questioning his judgment, his focus, whether he's fit to lead. "That's ridiculous." "Perhaps. But perception is reality in our world, Ava. And the perception is that Nathan is slipping." Ava set the tablet down, her throat tight. "Why are you telling me this?" Victoria's eyes softened. "Just enough to be dangerous, because I think you care about him. And if you care, you'll understand that the kindest thing you can do is step back. Step back. Let him focus. Let him grow into the man he's meant to be." Ava stood. Her legs felt unsteady, but her voice didn't waver. "With all due respect, Mrs. Cole, Nathan is already the man he's meant to be. And if your world can't see that, maybe the problem isn't me." She walked toward the elevator. Victoria's voice followed her. "You're stronger than I expected. I can see why he likes you." Ava stopped, didn't turn around. "But strength won't change the outcome, dear. It never does." The elevator doors closed, and Ava felt something crack inside her chest. Nathan canceled their date that night. Emergency meeting. "I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you." The flowers arrived an hour later. White roses. Expensive. Lifeless. Ava stared at them on her kitchen counter and felt nothing. The cancellations had become a pattern now. Twice a week, then 3 times, then more often than not. He'd text apologies, send gifts, promise it was temporary. But he stopped inviting her anywhere public, stopped mentioning her to colleagues, stopped looking her in the eye when he said, "Everything's fine." One night, Ava waited outside his office building for 3 hours. He never came down. At 11 p.m., her phone buzzed. "Got stuck in a call with Tokyo investors. Go home, I'll see you tomorrow." She went home, but he still didn't see her tomorrow. Her co-worker, Jenna, noticed first. "Girl," Jenna said, leaning against the nurse's station. "When did you become his secret?" Ava looked up from her chart. "What? Your guy, Mr. Fancy Suit. He used to show up here all the time. Now I haven't seen him in weeks. He's busy." "Busy or hiding you?" The question hit harder than it should have. Ava looked back down at her paperwork. "It's complicated. It's always complicated with rich men, honey." Jenna squeezed her shoulder. "Just make sure you're not the one getting complicated for his convenience." Ava stopped wearing the bracelet. At first, she told herself it was practical. It got in the way during shifts. But the truth was simpler. It hurt to look at. 2 weeks later, Nathan finally showed up at her apartment unannounced. He looked exhausted, hair disheveled, tie loosened. "I'm sorry," he said the moment she opened the door. "For which part?" she asked. He flinched. "Ava." "No, seriously. For canceling, for disappearing, for making me feel like I'm something you're ashamed of." "I'm not ashamed of you." "Then what are you?" He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "I'm trying to hold everything together, Ava. The company, my family, this us. And I'm failing at all of it." Her voice cracked. "Am I an embarrassment to you?" "What? No, of course not." "Then why does it feel like I am?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." "You're right. I don't." Her voice rose. "Because you won't let me in. You won't tell me what's happening. You just keep asking me to wait while you figure it out alone. I'm trying to protect you." "I don't need protection, Nathan. I need you to stop treating me like I'm fragile, like I can't handle your world. It's not about whether you can handle it. It's about whether I can." The confession hung between them. Ava's anger softened into something sadder. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't know how to do this." His voice broke. "I don't know how to be the son my parents want and the man you deserve. Maybe you need to stop trying to be what everyone else wants." "And then what? Lose everything? Would that include me?" she asked. He didn't answer. The silence stretched. Ava felt tears burn behind her eyes. "No, Nathan, you don't understand that love shouldn't make me feel invisible." "I'll fix this," he said desperately. "Just give me time, please." She wanted to believe him, but belief was running out. "How much time?" she whispered. "I don't know." She nodded slowly, swallowed the lump in her throat. "Okay." He reached for her. She stepped back. "I should go," he said quietly. "Yeah, you should." He left, and Ava locked the door behind him, slid down against it, and let herself cry. 3 days later, an envelope arrived. Cream-colored, expensive stationery. Inside, a handwritten note. "Lunch, Wednesday, 1 p.m. The Peninsula, Victoria Cole." Ava stared at the note. Nathan didn't know about this. She was sure of it. And part of her knew she shouldn't go. But a bigger part, the part that was tired of being invisible, needed to hear what his mother had to say this time, even if it destroyed her. The Peninsula Hotel restaurant was the kind of place where silence felt expensive. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters who moved like ghosts. Ava felt every eye on her the moment she walked in. Her dress, the nicest one she owned, suddenly felt cheap. Her shoes, scuffed. Her confidence, non-existent. Victoria sat at a corner table, already sipping sparkling water. She didn't stand when Ava approached. "Sit," Victoria said. Not unkind, just certain. "Ava, Saturday." A waiter appeared instantly. "Something to drink, miss?" "Water's fine." Victoria waited until he left. Then she folded her hands on the table, her gaze level. "I'll skip the pleasantries," she said. "You're here because I think we can help each other." Ava's stomach dropped. "Help each other how?" Victoria reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope, set it on the table between them. $50,000. Ava stared at it. "What?" "A thank you. For your time, for caring about Nathan, and for understanding that sometimes love means letting go." The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did. And Ava felt the room tilt. "You're paying me to leave him. I'm offering you an opportunity to walk away with dignity." Victoria's voice was calm, measured, like she was negotiating a business deal. "You love him, don't you?" Ava's throat closed. "Then let him have the future he deserves," Victoria continued. "One where he's not torn between you and his responsibilities, where he can lead without distraction. You're only making this harder for him, Ava." "Making it harder?" Ava's voice shook. "I've been nothing but supportive. You've been a complication." The word hit like a slap. Victoria leaned forward slightly. "Nathan will never choose you over this family, over this legacy. You know that, don't you? Deep down." Ava's hands trembled in her lap. "He'll try," Victoria said softly. "He'll fight for a while. And then, When the pressure becomes unbearable, he'll resent you for making him choose, for not letting him go when you had the chance. Tears burned behind Ava's eyes. You don't know that. I've watched men like Nathan my entire life, dear. I married one, raised one. They don't change. Ava stood abruptly. The chair scraped against marble. I'm not taking your money. Victoria didn't flinch. Then you're a fool. Maybe. Ava's voice cracked. But at least I'm not someone who measures love in dollar signs. She walked out, head high, heart shattering. She didn't tell Nathan about the lunch. Part of her wanted to see if he'd be furious, if he'd defend her without being asked. But another part, the part that was tired and scared, wanted to see if he'd notice something was wrong, if he'd fight for her without a prompt. He didn't. Now, the charity gala. Ava hadn't told him she was coming. She bought the dress with money she didn't have. Navy blue. Simple but elegant. The kind of dress that said I belong here even if she didn't believe it. She did her makeup twice, redid her hair 3 times, stood in front of the mirror practicing a smile that didn't look desperate. And when she stepped out of the cab at Navy Pier's grand ballroom, hope fragile, foolish hope whispered that maybe tonight would be different. Maybe he'd see her and remember why they fell in love. Maybe he'd finally stop hiding. The ballroom was a cathedral of wealth. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen starbursts. A string quartet played something classical near the stage. Women glided past in gowns that cost more than Ava's rent, diamonds dripping from their throats and wrists. She felt every stitch of her discount dress. But she lifted her chin and walked inside anyway. She spotted Nathan immediately. He stood near the bar with a cluster of men in tuxedos, laughing at something one of them said, champagne glass tilted in his hand. Comfortable, confident. Then he turned. Their eyes met across 50 feet of polished marble. His face went pale. The champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. For one breathless second, Ava thought he'd smile, thought he'd cross the room and take her hand and introduce her like she mattered. Instead, he looked away, turned back to his conversation, pretended he hadn't seen her. Ava's stomach dropped so fast she thought she might be sick. She moved through the ballroom like a shadow. No one spoke to her. No one asked her name. She was invisible. Again. She found herself near a marble column, trying to look like she belonged, when she heard it. A voice. Male. Loud enough to carry. That's the nurse, right? Ava froze. A man in his 60s, board member, judging by the way others deferred to him, gestured in her direction with his champagne flute. Cute girl, he said to the small crowd around him, but way out of her depth here, don't you think? Laughter rippled through the group. Polite, cruel, casual. Ava's vision tunneled. Because Nathan stood at the edge of that circle. He heard it. She knew he heard it. She watched his face. Waiting. Say something, defend me, prove me wrong. Nathan smiled. Weak, strained, uncomfortable, but he smiled and said absolutely nothing. His heart hammered against his ribs. He'd heard every word, felt Ava's eyes on him from across the circle. Say something, a voice screamed in his head. Tell them she's brilliant. Tell them she's yours. Tell them to go to hell. But his mother stood 15 feet away, watching. The board member who'd made the joke controlled 3 seats on the executive committee. His father's oldest partner stood beside him, eyebrows raised, waiting to see how Nathan would handle this. The weight of expectation crushed the air from his lungs. If I defend her now, it'll be worse. They'll target her more, make her life hell. If I stay quiet, maybe it'll blow over. Maybe she'll understand. So he smiled, hated himself for it, and watched her turn away. Ava didn't run. Running would have been dramatic, would have given them something to whisper about over dessert. She walked, slowly, deliberately, heels clicking against marble, vision blurring at the edges. She made it outside before the first tear fell. The pier stretched dark and endless over Lake Michigan. Wind whipped off the water, cold enough to bite through her thin dress. Ava gripped the railing, knuckles white, breathing through the ache in her chest. Footsteps echoed behind her. She didn't turn. Ava, Nathan's voice, quiet, careful. She kept her eyes on the water. He came to stand beside her, close enough to touch, far enough to feel like miles. "Why did you come tonight?" he asked. "You knew this would be difficult." Her laugh was sharp, broken. "Did I? If you'd just told me, would it have changed anything?" She finally looked at him. "Would you have actually stood beside me in there? Or would you have found another excuse to keep me hidden?" "That's not fair." "No, Nathan." Her voice trembled. "What's not fair is that I came here tonight because I wanted to believe you'd stand beside me, that I mattered more than your reputation, more than their opinions, more than your mother's approval." His jaw tightened. "Ava, please, don't make this harder than it has to be." "Harder?" The word tore out of her. "Harder for who? You? Because loving you has been the hardest thing I've ever done, and you haven't even noticed. I'm trying. Are you ashamed of me?" The question hung between them like a blade. "Yes or no, Nathan? Are you ashamed of me?" Silence. The waves crashed below them. The city hummed and glittered at their backs, and Nathan said nothing. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no words came. Ava's breath shattered. She reached down with trembling fingers, unclasped the silver bracelet from her wrist. The metal felt heavy in her palm, heavier than it should. She held it out between them. "A and N," she whispered. "I thought this meant something. I thought we were a team." Nathan stared at the bracelet, his face crumbling. "But I was wrong," her voice cracked. "It was never us, was it? It was always just you, and I was just the girl you loved when no one was watching." "Ava," she pressed the bracelet into his hand, closed his fingers around it. "I'm done being your secret." Then she walked away, down the pier, past the ballroom, into the cold Chicago night. And this time, this final, devastating time, he didn't follow. He just stood there, bracelet cutting into his palm, watching her disappear. Ava packed through the night. No crying, no throwing things, no rage. Just methodical, quiet movements. Clothes into boxes, books into bags. The pieces of her life folded and tucked away like they'd never been unpacked at all. By 3 in the morning, her apartment looked hollow, empty, like no one had ever lived there. She sat on the bare floor, staring at the walls. A sound outside made her look up. She went to the window. Nathan stood on the sidewalk below. Not in his car, not hiding, just standing there, hands in his pockets, looking up at her building like it held all the answers he'd been too afraid to search for. Their eyes met through the glass. She could see the plea written all over his face. "Let me in. Let me explain. Let me fix this." She waited for him to move, to climb the steps, to knock on her door and fight for her the way he should have fought hours ago. Yet he stood there for an hour, never moved, never knocked. Eventually he turned and walked away, disappeared into the dark, and Ava closed the curtain. That was probably it. The end, she thought. Not until 3 weeks later, the clinic waiting room smelled like lavender and anxiety. Ava sat in a plastic chair, holding a clipboard she hadn't filled out. The test had been quick. A blood draw, a few questions. The results felt like an earthquake. The nurse, young, cheerful, oblivious, handed her a printout. An ultrasound image, grey and blurry. A tiny cluster of cells barely visible against the black. "Congratulations," the nurse said, beaming. Ava stared at the image. Her hands started shaking. She pressed them flat against her thighs, but it didn't help. The nurse kept talking. Something about prenatal vitamins, first trimester appointments, what to expect, but Ava couldn't hear her over the roaring in her ears. She looked down at the printout again, at the impossibly small shape that would become a person. Nathan's child. What am I going to do? Family, I want to ask you something real. If you were Ava right now, pregnant, heartbroken and alone, would you go back and tell him? Would you give him another chance to choose you? Or would you protect your child from a man who couldn't fight for you? Comment below, because this decision is going to change everything. And please, share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Sometimes we need to be reminded that we're worth fighting for. Now let me tell you what Ava decided. The ultrasound printout sat on her kitchen table for 3 days. She'd pick it up, stare at it, set it down, pick it up again. Every time she looked at that tiny blur of cells, the same thought circled back. If I tell him, I'll always wonder, did he come back for me or out of obligation? And she already knew the answer. Nathan would come back, not because he loved her enough to fight for her, but because duty would demand it. His mother would orchestrate the perfect narrative. The board would approve the optics. She could see the headlines already. Nurse traps billionaire with baby. Cole airs scandalous secret. They'd make her the villain, the opportunist, the woman who got pregnant to secure a fortune. No, she wouldn't give them that story. She wouldn't give Nathan an easy out, disguised as responsibility. If he didn't choose her when it was just her, he didn't get to choose her because of a baby. So she made her decision in the quiet of her apartment, alone, the way she'd face everything else from now on. She didn't tell him. 2 weeks later, she transferred to Milwaukee. Different hospital, different life. Far enough from Chicago that she wouldn't accidentally run into him on a street corner. She found a small one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood where people didn't ask too many questions. Started her shifts. Kept her head down. At night, she studied. Medical school applications. MCAT prep books. Anatomy flashcards spread across her couch while her hand rested on her growing belly. She was going to do this. All of it. Alone. Eli was born on a Tuesday morning in March. Ava labored for 14 hours with only her mother beside her, holding her hand, whispering encouragement. When they finally placed him in her arms, tiny, wrinkled, screaming, she looked into his eyes and her breath stopped. Hazel, Nathan's eyes. Her chest ached with a grief so sharp it felt physical. But then Eli wrapped his impossibly small fingers around hers, and everything else fell away. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "It's just you and me now. But I promise I'm going to be enough." The first year was a war of exhaustion. Ava worked night shifts at the hospital because childcare was cheaper when her mother could watch him during the day. She came home at 7 a.m., slept for 3 hours, then studied while Eli napped. Her body ran on coffee and willpower. She missed things. Eli's first steps happened while she was hunched over an anatomy textbook, highlighter in hand. She looked up just in time to see him wobble across the living room floor, arms outstretched, grinning. She cried, happy and heartbroken at once. His first words, "Mama" and "No," came during a surgery rotation when she was elbow-deep in a cadaver lab. Her mother called to tell her, voice bright with excitement, and Ava smiled through the phone while her heart cracked a little more. But she kept going, because stopping wasn't an option. Years blurred together. Medical school. Residency, specialization in cardiothoracic surgery. Eli grew, curious, bright, full of questions she didn't always have time to answer. He also inherited something else from his father, asthma. The first attack happened when he was 4. Ava came home from a shift to find her mother pale, Eli wheezing in her arms. She'd never moved faster. The ER, the nebulizer, the way his small chest heaved as he fought for air. After that, the inhaler became part of their routine. She kept one in every bag, every drawer, every corner of their life. "Why do I have to use this, Mama?" Eli asked once, holding the inhaler like it was a punishment. "Because your lungs need a little extra help sometimes," she said, kneeling to his level. "And that's okay. We all need help sometimes." "Do you?" She smiled. "Every single day." By the time Eli turned 8, Ava had become something she'd only dreamed about. Dr. Ava Bennett, chief resident, then attending surgeon, then the surgeon other hospitals called when cases seemed impossible. The miracle hand, they called her. She saved a 6-year-old with a congenital heart defect everyone else said was inoperable. Performed a transplant on a teenager who'd been on the waiting list for 2 years. Took on the cases no one else wanted and made them work. Her name spread. She built her empire one surgery at a time, not through inheritance or family legacy, but through skill, through stubborn, relentless determination. It was nothing like Nathan's world, and it was everything. Eli asked about his father sometimes. Not often, but enough that Ava knew the question lived in the back of his mind, waiting. "Why don't I have a dad?" he asked one night over mac and cheese. Ava set her fork down carefully. "You do have a dad, he just wasn't ready to be one. Will he ever be ready?" Her throat tightened. "I don't know, sweetheart. Do you miss him?" "Every single day," she thought. "Sometimes," she said. "But I have you, and you're the best thing that ever happened to me." Eli considered this, then went back to his dinner, satisfied. But Ava sat there long after he'd gone to bed, staring at nothing. She still kept the photos hidden in a shoebox at the back of her closet, pictures of her and Nathan from when things were good, his smile, her laugh, the two of them tangled together on her couch, happy and whole. She couldn't throw them away, couldn't look at them either. So they stayed buried, like everything else. The email came on a Wednesday. Subject: Chief of Surgery position, Cold Care, Chicago. Ava's stomach dropped the moment she saw the name. Cold Care, Nathan's company. She almost deleted it, but curiosity or maybe masochism made her open it. They were expanding, building a flagship hospital in downtown Chicago, needed a chief of surgery to lead the cardiothoracic department. Her name had come highly recommended. The salary was obscene. The position, everything she'd worked toward. And it was in Chicago, his city, his empire. "Mom, are we really moving to Chicago?" Eli asked, bouncing on the couch when she finally told him. "Maybe. Would you want to?" "Yes. You said Chicago has the best pizza. And the bean thing. Can we see the bean thing?" She smiled despite herself. "It's called Cloud Gate. Can we?" She looked at him, 8 years old, bright, fearless, everything good in her life. She'd spent 9 years running, 9 years building herself into someone who didn't need saving. And now, the universe was offering her a chance to walk back into Nathan's world, not as the girl he'd broken, but as his equal. "I earned this," she said quietly. "I won't run anymore." "What?" "Nothing, baby." "Yes, we're moving to Chicago." Eli cheered, and Ava tried not to think about what would happen when Nathan found out. The orientation packet arrived 2 weeks before her start date. She flipped through it casually. Department heads, facility maps, protocols. Then she reached the last page. Mandatory quarterly board meeting with executive leadership, including CEO Nathan Cole. Her hands went numb. The packet slipped from her fingers. Eli looked up from his homework. "You okay, Mom?" She forced a smile. "Fine. Just thinking." But she wasn't fine. Because in 3 weeks, she'd walk into Nathan Cole's boardroom. And sooner than later, he'd finally have to learn the truth. Now back to present day. The morning of the board meeting, Ava stood in front of her bathroom mirror and gave herself the same speech she'd been repeating for days. "I can face him. I'm not that broken girl anymore." She straightened her navy suit, checked her badge. Dr. Ava Bennett, Chief of Surgery. Not nurse, not secret, not invisible. She'd earned this, and Nathan Cole didn't get to take it from her. "Mom, can I come with you today?" Ava turned. Eli stood in the doorway, already dressed, backpack on. "Baby, it's just a boring meeting, but I want to see where you work." His eyes lit up. "Please, I'll be quiet. I promise." She hesitated. Bringing Eli felt dangerous, reckless, but he looked so hopeful. And part of her, the part that was tired of hiding, thought, "Why not? This is my life. He's my son. Nathan doesn't get to dictate that anymore." "Okay," she said, "but you have to stay close." "I will." She took his hand and walked toward the collision she'd been avoiding for 9 years. The boardroom doors slid open. Ava stepped inside, chin high, heart hammering. 23 faces turned toward her. She scanned the room professionally, nodding to the executives she'd met during orientation. Then her eyes landed on the head of the table. Nathan. He sat perfectly still, pen frozen mid-signature. For a moment, neither of them moved. 9 years collapsed into seconds. She saw it all flash across his face: shock, recognition, disbelief, something that looked like grief. His pen slipped from his fingers, clattered against the table, rolled toward the edge. No one caught it. The room held its breath. Then Eli's voice broke the silence. "Mom?" Every head swiveled. Ava felt Nathan's gaze shift, felt the exact moment he saw Eli, saw those hazel eyes, the same eyes that stared back at him from the mirror every morning. Nathan's face drained of color. His mouth opened, closed. The executives exchanged confused glances. And then Eli's breathing changed. A soft wheeze, then sharper. "Eli!" Ava's professional mask shattered. His hand clutched his chest. The wheezing intensified, filling the silent boardroom like a siren. "Mom, I can't." His knees buckled. Ava dropped everything. Files scattered across marble as she lunged forward, catching him before he hit the ground. Chaos erupted. Chairs scraped. Voices overlapped. "Someone call. Is he okay? What's happening?" Nathan shot to his feet, instinct overriding shock. "I'll call the medical." "Don't." Ava's voice cut through the noise like a blade. She knelt on the floor, Eli cradled against her, and looked up at Nathan with years of buried rage burning in her eyes. "Don't you dare come near him." The room froze. Nathan froze. Ava's hands moved with practiced efficiency, loosening Eli's collar, checking his pulse, whispering calming words, even as her own voice shook. "Breathe with me, baby. In through your nose, out through your mouth." Her fingers fumbled through her bag, searching for the inhaler. Nathan hovered closer, every instinct screaming to help. "Ava, let me." I said don't. Her eyes met his, sharp, devastating. "You don't get to help now." He stopped, hands suspended uselessly in the air, and watched helpless as she found the inhaler, pressed it to Eli's lips, counted his breaths. 1, 2, 3. Eli gasped, coughed, gasped again. Then, finally, exhaled slowly. The tension in the room released slightly. Ava pulled Eli close, pressing her face into his hair, tears she refused to let fall burning behind her eyes. Nathan stood 3 feet away, close enough to see the boy's face clearly now. The resemblance was undeniable. His son. He had a son, and Ava had kept him hidden for 9 years. The hospital's private wing hummed with quiet efficiency. Ava had insisted on bringing Eli here herself, after he immediately complained of weakness, refusing the ambulance, refusing help. Nathan followed anyway. Security tried to stop him at the corridor entrance. "Sir, family only." "She's my—" Nathan stopped, couldn't finish the sentence. The guard looked uncertain. Nathan pushed past him. He waited outside Eli's room for 3 hours. Pacing, sitting, standing, pacing again. Executives called. His assistant texted. His mother left 2 voicemails. He ignored all of it. Finally, the door opened. Ava stepped out, exhaustion carved into every line of her face. Nathan stood immediately. "Is he?" "Stable." Her voice was flat, professional. "He's sleeping." Silence stretched between them. Nathan's hands trembled as he fought to ask the question. "Ava, is he mine?" he asked finally. But she didn't answer, just looked at him with those same eyes that had haunted him for 9 years. And her silence said everything. Nathan's breath left him in a rush. He stumbled back a step, hand bracing against the wall. "All these years," his voice cracked, "and you didn't think to tell me." Ava's expression hardened. "You didn't earn the right to know." The words hit like a physical blow. "I had a son," Nathan whispered. "I have a son. And you—" "And I what, Nathan?" Her voice rose. "Should have told you, so you could what feel obligated. Play father for the cameras, let your mother pay me off again." "What?" "She offered me $50,000 to disappear, Nathan. Did you know that?" His face went white. "No. Of course you didn't, because you were too busy protecting your empire to notice what was happening right in front of you." Nathan's chest heaved. "I was a coward." The admission tore out of him. "I chose my father's approval over you, over us. He silently threatened to disown me, dissolve the trust fund, Everything, and I let that scare me more than losing you. So you thought you were protecting the empire? Ava's laugh was bitter. Well, congratulations, you got exactly what you wanted. I lost everything that mattered. No, Nathan, you chose to lose it. He flinched. Ava's voice dropped. Colder. I built myself without your money, without your name, without your pity. Eli and I don't need you. The truth of it, the finality, cut deeper than anything else she could have said. Ava, go home, Nathan. She turned, walked back into Eli's room. The door closed with a soft click. Nathan stood alone in the fluorescent hallway. Then his legs gave out. He slid down the wall, head in his hands, and finally let himself break. But just then, footsteps approached. Expensive heels on linoleum. He didn't need to look up to know who it was. Nathan. Victoria Cole stood above him, perfectly composed, perfectly cold. We need to talk about this situation. Nathan lifted his head. For the first time in his life, he looked at his mother with something like hatred. No, he said quietly, we don't. And he didn't move, didn't stand, just sat there in the wreckage of the life he'd destroyed 9 years ago, wondering if there was any way to build it back. Victoria found Ava in the hospital cafeteria 2 days later. She appeared like a ghost from the past. Cream suit, perfect posture, that same cold smile. Ava looked up from her coffee and felt ice settle in her chest. Dr. Bennett. Victoria sat without being invited. We should talk. We have nothing to discuss. On the contrary, we have a son to discuss. My grandson. The possessive pronoun made Ava's jaw clench. He's not yours, but he is a Cole. Victoria folded her hands on the table. And that comes with complications. I'd like to offer you. Let me stop you right there. Ava set her coffee down carefully. If you're about to offer me money to disappear again, save your breath. I'm not going anywhere. And neither is Eli. Victoria's smile tightened. You misunderstand. I'm trying to help. No, you're trying to control, like you always do. Footsteps approached from behind. That's enough. Both women turned. Nathan stood there, still in yesterday's wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes, but his voice was steady. Certain. Victoria's expression shifted. Nathan, darling, you were just leaving. He didn't look at his mother. His eyes stayed fixed on Ava. And you won't be contacting Ava or Eli again, not without my permission. Don't be ridiculous. You made me lose her once. Nathan finally looked at Victoria, and something in his gaze had changed, hardened. Not again. Victoria stood, composure cracking slightly. That child could destroy everything we've built, the optics alone. Then let it burn. The words echoed through the cafeteria. Several people looked up. Victoria went very still. What did you say? I said let it burn. The empire, the legacy, all of it. Nathan's voice didn't waver. I'm done building things on broken hearts. I'm done choosing reputation over people who matter. And I'm done listening to you. Victoria's face went pale, then red. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. They stared at each other, a lifetime of control and compliance crumbling between them. Finally, Victoria collected her purse with shaking hands. You'll regret this, she said quietly. The only thing I regret is not doing it 9 years ago. Victoria left. Nathan stood there, breathing hard, watching her go. Then he turned to Ava. I'm sorry. For her. For everything. Ava studied him. This man who'd just blown up his entire relationship with his mother. For her. For Eli. That was overdue. He ran a hand through his hair. I should have done it years ago. I should have. His voice cracked. I should have been brave enough to fight for you then. Ava's throat tightened. But she didn't respond. Just gathered her things and walked away, leaving Nathan standing alone in the cafeteria, wondering if courage had come too late. Nathan didn't push, didn't demand anything, just showed up. At first Ava thought it was a game, rich man's guilt, temporary penance, but Nathan kept coming back. He'd appear in the hospital corridors, always at a respectful distance, never cornering her, never demanding her time, just present. One afternoon, a nurse approached Ava at the station. "Dr. Bennett, someone left these for your son. 3 books. Children's science experiments, space exploration, the human body. A card tucked inside. Heard he likes learning. N." Ava's chest tightened. How did he know what Eli liked? She asked the nurses. They admitted Nathan had been stopping by, asking gentle questions, learning, never making it about him, always about Eli. 2 weeks later, Ava received an email about hospital funding. A new wing, dedicated to pediatric asthma research. Anonymous donor, 7 figures. She knew immediately. Eli noticed too. "Mum, why don't you like Mr. Cole?" he asked one evening over homework. Ava looked up from patient charts. "What makes you think I don't like him? You get all stiff when he's around, but he's nice. He brought me that book about black holes." "I know. And he asked me about school and my inhaler. He didn't act like it was weird." Ava's pen stopped moving. "Most grown-ups don't ask about stuff like that," Eli continued, "but he really listened, like he cared. Baby. Is he my dad?" The question landed like a bomb. Ava set her pen down. "Why would you ask that?" "Because he has my eyes. I saw it in the mirror after he left. We have the same eyes, and he looks like me too." Tears burned behind Ava's lids. She'd known this moment would come, just not this soon. "Yes," she said quietly. "He's your father." Eli processed this. "Why doesn't he live with us?" "It's complicated." "Did you love him?" "Still do," she thought. "That's the problem." "Yes," she admitted. "A long time ago." "Do you think?" Eli hesitated. "Do you think he would love me, if he got to know me?" Ava's heart shattered. She pulled Eli close. "Baby, he already does. I can see it every time he looks at you." "Then why are you still mad at him?" "Because sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people hurt you, and it takes time to trust them again." Eli nodded against her shoulder, but the question lingered. "How much time?" The second asthma attack happened 3 weeks later. Mild, manageable, but still scary. Ava was in surgery when it hit, but Nathan was there. He'd been visiting Eli after school supervised, always with nurses present when Eli started wheezing. Nathan didn't panic. He found the inhaler, counted the breaths, spoke in low, calm tones. "You're okay, buddy. Just breathe with me. In and out. That's it. You're doing great." When Ava burst into the room 20 minutes later, scrubs still on, panic written across her face, she found Eli calm, breathing normally, and Nathan sitting beside him, holding his hand, humming something soft. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Eli's eyes were closed, a small smile on his face. Nathan looked up, saw Ava in the doorway. "He's okay," Nathan whispered. It passed. Ava's knees went weak. She watched Nathan brush hair from Eli's forehead, watched the tenderness in every movement. This wasn't obligation. This was love. And something inside her, some wall she'd been holding up for 9 years, cracked. That night, Ava found Nathan on the hospital rooftop, the same place they used to meet when they were young and stupid and in love. He stood at the railing, staring out at the Chicago skyline. "How'd you know I'd be here?" he asked without turning. "Old habits." He smiled faintly. "Yeah." Ava came to stand beside him, close but not touching. "Thank you," she said, "for today, with Eli. You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You were good with him." Nathan turned to face her. "I don't expect forgiveness, Ava. I know what I did. I know what I took from both of you." "Nathan, but I want to be his father, not the title, not the genetics. I want to show up, be present, learn who he is." His voice broke. "Let me prove I've changed, please." Ava's vision blurred. "I wished you'd fought for me," she whispered. "Every single day for years. I wished you'd been brave enough to choose us." "I know, and I can't give you those years back." He stepped closer. "But I can give you every day forward, if you'll let me." The wind picked up. The city glittered below them. Ava looked at this man who'd broken her, who was genuinely trying to put the pieces back together. "If you want to know Eli," she said carefully, "you start slow. 1 visit a week. Supervised. And Nathan, yeah? Don't make promises you can't keep." He nodded. "I won't." She turned to leave. "Ava," she stopped. "What about us?" The question hung between them. Heavy. Impossible. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe ask me again in 6 months." Then she walked away, leaving Nathan on the rooftop, but this time, with something he hadn't had in 9 years. Hope. But does Nathan deserve this second chance? Can someone who hurt you that deeply truly change? Or is Ava setting herself up for more heartbreak? Tell me in the comments what you think she should do. And if this story is gripping your heart the way it's gripping mine, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the ending I'm about to share with you, it's going to make you believe in redemption, or maybe question it. Let's find out together. The first visit was awkward. Nathan arrived at Ava's apartment with a chess set tucked under his arm, looking more nervous than she'd ever seen him. Eli opened the door, shy suddenly, hiding halfway behind Ava's leg. "Hi, Eli," Nathan said, kneeling to his level. "I brought something. Thought maybe you'd want to learn?" Eli looked up at Ava. She nodded. He stepped forward. "Okay." They sat on the living room floor. Nathan explained the pieces. Eli asked 1,000 questions. Nathan answered every single one with patience Ava didn't know he had. She watched from the kitchen, pretending to make tea, heart in her throat. Then the visits became routine. Every Saturday, 2 hours. Sometimes at the apartment, sometimes at the park. Nathan taught Eli chess strategies. They flew kites in Grant Park, Eli shrieking with laughter when the wind caught the tail. They visited the Museum of Science and Industry, where Eli peppered Nathan with questions about space and dinosaurs and how submarines worked. Nathan never looked at his phone, never cut the visits short, just showed up, present, fully there. One afternoon, Eli came running inside, breathless with excitement. Mom, guess what?" "What, baby?" "Mr. Cole is really my daddy." Ava's breath caught. She looked past Eli to where Nathan stood in the doorway, frozen. "Yes," she said softly. "He really is." Eli grinned, then ran back outside to show Nathan the drawing he'd made. Nathan met Ava's eyes across the room. "Thank you," he mouthed. She nodded. Then 2 months in, it happened. They were playing in the park. Nathan was pushing Eli on the swings. "Higher, Dad, higher." Nathan's hands faltered, nearly missed the swing. "Dad." Not Mr. Cole, not Nathan. Dad. Ava watched Nathan's face crumble and rebuild itself in seconds, watched him blink hard, then smile. "You got it, buddy." And he pushed higher. Ava started therapy in the 3rd month. She'd resisted for years, convinced she could handle everything alone, but watching Nathan rebuild his relationship with Eli forced her to face the question she'd been avoiding. Could she ever trust him again? "What are you most afraid of?" her therapist asked one session. Ava stared at the ceiling. "That he'll choose his world over us again, that the moment things get hard he'll disappear." "Has he given you reason to believe that?" "No. But he didn't before either, until he did." The therapist nodded. "So you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Aren't I supposed to?" "That's up to you. But living in fear of pain doesn't protect you from it, it just keeps you from experiencing joy." The words stayed with her. Meanwhile, her career was thriving. She performed a revolutionary surgery, separated conjoined twins sharing a single heart chamber. The procedure took 14 hours, made national news. The hospital held a press conference. Ava stood at the podium, exhausted but proud, explaining the technique to reporters. She scanned the crowd out of habit, and there, at the very back of the room, stood Nathan. He wasn't taking photos, wasn't on his phone, just watching. A small, proud smile on his face. Their eyes met. He pressed a hand to his chest, then pointed at her. "Proud of you." Something warm bloomed in Ava's chest. The turning point. Ava found the drawing on the kitchen table. 3 stick figures, one tall with dark hair, one shorter with a ponytail, one small between them, all holding hands, a house behind them, a sun in the corner. At the top, in Eli's messy handwriting, "My family." Ava picked it up with trembling hands. Tears blurred her vision. Nathan saw it the next Saturday. Eli had left it on the coffee table, running to grab his jacket. Nathan stared at it for a long moment. When Ava came into the room, he was still holding it. "Is there room in that picture for me?" he asked quietly. "In your life?" Ava's throat tightened. "I'm scared, Nathan. I know. Scared you'll choose your world over us again, that I'll let myself believe and you'll—" "I won't." He set the drawing down, stepped closer. "I know I can't prove it with words, so watch me. Every single day, I'll choose you both until you believe it." "Nathan, I'm not going anywhere, Ava. Not this time." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. Public declaration. The press conference aired on every major network. Ava was in her office when a nurse rushed in. "Dr. Bennett, you need to see this." They crowded around a computer screen. Nathan stood at a podium, Coal Care logo behind him, cameras flashing. "I'm announcing a restructuring of my role within Coal Group. Effective immediately, I'm stepping back from CEO to serve as chairman." Murmurs rippled through the press room. "This allows me to focus on what matters most. My family." Ava's hand flew to her mouth. 9 years ago, I failed the woman I loved and the son I didn't know I had. I chose reputation over people, legacy over love. I'm not asking for forgiveness, I'm working to earn it. The room erupted with questions. Nathan held up a hand. "One more thing. To the board members and shareholders who have concerns about this decision, I understand. But if you can't accept my family, I'll kindly walk away from Coal Group entirely. Some things are worth more than empires." He stepped away from the podium. The feed cut. Ava stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. That night, she showed up at his apartment. Nathan opened the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking stunned. "Ava, you didn't have to do that." He stepped aside. "Let her in." "Yes, I did. Nathan, your company means nothing without you." He closed the door. "You and Eli aren't my secret anymore. You're not my complication or my scandal. You're my life." Ava's breath hitched. "I spent 9 years building things that didn't matter," Nathan continued. "I'm done. I just want to build a life with you, if you'll let me." She looked at him. This man who'd broken her, who'd spent 6 months proving he'd changed, who'd just burned his entire world down to choose her. "I'm still scared," she whispered. "I know. I'll spend every day proving you don't have to be." She stepped forward and kissed him. 9 years of pain and longing and grief poured into that kiss. His hands cupped her face, her fingers twisted in his shirt. When they finally broke apart, both were crying. "I love you," Nathan whispered against her forehead. "I never stopped." "I know." Ava laughed through tears. "I never stopped either. That was the problem. Not a problem anymore." "No," she agreed. "Not anymore." They held each other in the middle of his apartment. Finally home. 6 months later, the ceremony was small. Just hospital staff, close friends, Eli bouncing with excitement in his suit. They unveiled the new plaque together. Chief of Surgery, Dr. Ava Bennett Cole. Ava stared at her name. "Their name. You didn't have to change it," Nathan murmured beside her. "I wanted to. It's who I am now." Eli tugged Nathan's sleeve. "Dad, can I go see the surgical wing?" Nathan grinned. "Race you." They took off down the corridor, Eli's laughter echoing off the walls. Nathan caught him, swooped him up, spun him around until Eli shrieked with joy. Ava watched them, her 2 favorite people in the world. Finally, everything felt right. That evening, Nathan pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside, the silver bracelet. A and N. "I kept it," he said, "every single day. Carried it with me, a reminder of what I'd lost." Ava's vision blurred. "Nathan, it belongs with you." He clasped it around her wrist. The metal warmed against her skin. She looked at it, then at him. A and N. It finally means something real. It always did. I just wasn't brave enough to live up to it. You are now. Because of you. Because you taught me what real strength looks like. Eli ran over, camera in hand. Mom, Dad, picture! They posed together, Eli between them, all three smiling. The flash went off and captured what 9 years of pain had finally become. A family, whole, healed, home. Sometimes love doesn't work the first time. Not because it wasn't real, but because we weren't ready. Ava and Nathan's story isn't about a perfect romance. It's about two broken people who found their way back to each other through pain, growth, and a little boy who became their bridge home. She didn't need him to save her, she saved herself. And maybe that's what made their second chance possible, because she came back whole, not hoping to be completed. Nathan didn't just change his words, he changed his life. Because real love isn't about grand gestures, it's about showing up, day after day, until trust is rebuilt. And Eli? He got the father who was finally ready to be one. So, my beautiful family, here's my question for you. Do you believe people can truly change, or do we stay who we've always been? Drop your thoughts below, because I read every single comment, and your stories matter to me. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that'll make you cry, think, and believe in second chances. Until next time, remember, broken hearts can heal, but only if we let them.